purchase a pipe, and that's what they're calling it, that is some kind of connection that Wayland just had theirs break. And there is a huge waiting period now to get it. And when that happens, you're without water. I don't know what Wayland's doing, but that pipe is $1,700, and they would just like to have it in stock, have it here, so that if we have a problem, we have the pipe.
I'll make a motion, let them go ahead and purchase the pipe for $1,700.
I'll second that. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Here. The hookups are on here, and I'm just gonna say this quickly since it's late, and it's not a decision or anything we can do tonight, but we still have the issue of, Dale has a stack of sales that she has, and we are not being notified. The people are not hooking up to the water prior to the sale of their property, which is what they're supposed to do.
So before they sell it, the owner is supposed to hook
The
it up.
seller is supposed to hook up to the water, and I don't know how we make that happen. We've got to find a system for doing that. We don't know till the sale's final currently.
Well, we do a final bill, right? Do we
Yeah.
know what the hookup cost would be, that we could add it to the bill? Could we put it in our
No,
rules?
the problem is we only get a final read, they're already hooked up. It's the properties that are not hooked up to the water district. If they're
Oh.
sold, they are supposed to
Yeah, but
hook
then-
up.
Right, I see what you mean. They just have that $5 fee or something
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah.
But then, could that be added to the re-levy? Could you do it that way? You check with the county, you know, what it'd be like the fee for the hookup, whatever that cost would be, and it would be added to that? Well, that's the
I don't know,
seller,
I'm
though.
saying we're
No,
gonna
it's the
have to
seller.
look at a way, because theoretically, the seller's supposed to do
Right.
it, and at the time, and I don't know if we, how you make that happen, because we don't know about the sales till after the fact. The sales that they call for a final reading, they're not the problem, they're hooked up to the water.
Is it nice for Dad to see the buyer has to do it? Then you know, because they buy it and they're put on?
It's a property that doesn't have water, and then it's sold, and now they want a hookup?
No, what do you call it?
Curb stop?
Curb stop. The water goes by their house. but
Right.
They chose not
By
to
the
hook
house?
up. Yeah, and they have a hookup thing in the street.
They
but
have a well.
They have a well, and
Yeah.
they chose not to hook up to the water, the town water, at the time that we did the water district. But when it was formed, it was said, if you sell that property, you have to hook up to the water district. And it's the seller's responsibility, but we don't know the sale is happening until the sale's completed. And nobody's hooking up.
I think we made an agreement back then that it'd be up to them, they have to hook up, but they can split between the buyer and seller, or either way.
Oh,
their
yeah,
lawyers
right, they
hook up,
could, yeah.
So it's not solely on the homeowner.
Well, doesn't somebody have to apply for service?
But they're not hooked up.
But they're not hooked up.
They're out of their
They're
well.
using their wells still.
And they will use their well.
That's a headache.
Well,
That's my
it's
legal
not
opinion.
something that we can have to decide tonight, but I just want everybody to,
Yeah, maybe we could figure out from some other towns what they do, how they do it.
Well, who is financially responsible? I mean, there's some sort of penalty if you don't get notification?
no, they
What-
pay a $5 curb stop every
Year,
quarter.
quarter.
Or it might be 12, no. Some of them are $12, some of them are
So they
$5.
do get a final bill then? because they get that $5,
I mean,
right?
you can't force them, it
They
has to be
don't
part of the
notify
sale,
us,
to
yeah.
force them to hook up. I mean, the curb stop's gonna be there regardless. It was part of, when the district was formed, that if you had a well, you could keep your well, and you did not have to hook up at that point in time. But for anybody that bought that property after, they would not be grandfathered in to keep that well, they would be forced to hook up. to
That
the
makes more
water.
sense.
Well,
That's what's
Well,
in the,
that's what
that's,
is in the
but
thing, but we're not being we don't know till Val tells us that there was a sale.
And then the seller's gone.
So if Milt,
Well, but
It was
if the,
written that
if the
way, then
buyer
that's
of the new
different.
property, assuming this lady is correct, and what she's saying is probably the way to do it. If the new buyer is required to hook up and doesn't, you're gonna know about it at some point. Your assessor's
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
tell you.
but wouldn't we have to change then the law or whatever it is that says, if there's a sale, you have to then hook up to the
I don't know
water?
what the local law, or it's not a local law, it's a series
No.
of regulations. I don't know what,
It says
How-
the
how that's
seller-
addressed.
The seller has to hook up before they sell. That's what it says. The seller has to hook up to the water line before the purchase is through. That's what it says.
well, then the buyer should verify before the closing.
They might not know
But how
about
would
it.
they know?
Well, they're supposed to.
Well, they should, because it's on their it's on the taxes, they should know that, but how do you enforce it? That's what we need to know, how to enforce it, how to make the seller enforce that.
I wouldn't put the onus on the seller, I'd put it on the buyer,
The
because the
buyer.
buyer's gonna be right there.
So we have to change the regulations.
I don't know,
Policy.
I don't know that. If it's what you're saying, yes, if it's what she said,
That's what it says, isn't it? No, the seller has to hook up
We had,
before.
they have to be hooked up, they can deal with their realtor, either pay half of it, pay all of it, but it has to be done. We don't want to make the burden of the buyer pay the extra fee to hook up, and it, more on the seller, if he wants to sell his place, it's more so on his shoulders.
but the problem with that is once the seller sells,
It's
he
gone.
moves to Alaska and you send him a bill and he says,
See ya.
thanks very much. But the buyer is right there occupying the property, he's got a house and doesn't want to have any charges put on his property taxes.
And you can't make them?
Can't make him
You
what?
can't make them pay, the buyer, you can't make them hook up unless you change your regulation.
I don't know that, I'd have to read the regulations to see how that's addressed.
Can you find
We're
them?
doing the same thing
Are
over
they
in the
on website?
village
No,
with the sewer
They're in
system.
the drawer, and
I think
do
you
you want me to
said
go
that.
find it
That
right now?
folks who
Oh.
aren't
Okay.
hooked up to the sewer, going to be hooked up to the sewer, are grandfathered, but once the property is sold, then the property owner must hook up. If
Right.
the line is available to them, they have to hook up. And the onus is on the buyer of the property.
I think we'd have to change it then. So if you could find those,
Could it
Check with
also
Barry.
be like as simple as in the next billing cycle, sending a letter with the bill indicating that when we are notified of a sale like that, because the assessor is notified, that if they haven't hooked up, that there will be some sort of penalty for that, or the hookup charge will be
To who?
forwarded to them, to the seller.
To the seller,
Because Val would have that information.
but they're not there anymore.
But they're
She-
gone already when
Right.
she gets that.
I mean, an attempt, I mean, maybe
No, the
somebody,
sale,
the attorney would have a forwarding. of
no,
those.
she gets the sales from the county and it's a done
Oh,
deal
okay.
already when she's.
Yeah, she's not
I'll
notified
check
for
with the,
weeks or months
uh,
later.
Val, what the taxes are, I think, at that point in time, she can tell them, it's, your taxes are this, but you have to hook up the water.
Right, I just,
Do they check with Vail when they sell?
No.
Not everybody
No,
does.
but how many people don't go to Dale and say, what's the taxes on this house?
No, they
School
go
taxes.
online and look it up.
Yeah.
Lawyer
or
found
have
out.
an attorney call, I get
Mhm.
lots of calls from attorneys looking for.
I mean,
Is
the
there
other
something
question-
that you could put on the deeds down to the county?
I'm
that-
sorry?
Is there something that the town could put on each of the deeds down to the county that haven't been grandfathered, that are currently grandfathered, that aren't hooked up, so that it, when they did a title search, they would see that they have to hook up at that time?
No, I wouldn't put them on individual deeds, there would be a lot of, that's a lot of work for somebody.
Well, I don't know
No,
how
I
many are
think there
not
was
hooked up.
250, right? And there are 225 or 32 that are hooked up, right? There aren't many left.
I don't know, is it that few? I don't know, Barry didn't have a figure. He thought it was a little more than that, but I don't know. I mean, we can look at the regulations, this doesn't have to be done, but it's just something that
Who's on water committee?
I think we all are, because we're the water commissioners.
No, I mean, you have people on water, your committee's on water, who's that? Not me.
I don't actually think,
I
I
go
don't
like
know
this
that
when
there
it
is a
comes
committee. I'll let those people know.
Okay.
We have had numerous calls, people come in, town board members request that the pool be open. Barry has drained the pool and cleaned it. He unfroze the pumps. He has 2 small leaks now he's working on. He has not full-blown cranked it up to say there's a problem. Tay and he have been working on trying to get a price on a new chlorinator, and what was that other party brought in today? Oh, and the heater, always, we're having terrible trouble getting people to give us prices on anything. They've sent pictures to several pool places, so we're hoping to get something. The question is, would we, because this would have to be a decision that would have to be made, if the pool is being run and it's only the chlorinator, which it's needed and would need anyway, would we wanna open the pool?
What's the DOH say?
The DOH actually called me last week, and they were supposed to get 3 weeks ago the final guidelines for pools and playgrounds and all that. She said that was pushed back to last week when she called, and she said they had just been notified that it would probably be another week or 2. She's going to call me back. She basically said they don't feel that there will be any regulations for a pool, that things are open, there would certainly not be masks in parks or pools, and that unless something horrid happens again, but she is gonna get back to me when they absolutely have the ground rules for pools being open.
Because it is right now.
Has the
Yeah,
rule
they have-
changed? I was told that we had to repaint the pool every year before we filled it.
Barry worked with them,
By the state.
I've never heard that, and he never said that it had to be painted, or,
He's always done it, I know he has.
yeah,
He's always
he
chipped it
cleaned
off.
it, and, yeah, well, he did chip the kiddie pool off, but he didn't see a problem with the pool, we didn't use it last year. And he's refilling it. We just have a lot of people, both those that are running the pool, the pavilions, and those that have contacted us and asked why the pool can't be open.
You can't even get help to
Well,
open it
that-
on the weekends, so how are you
that's
gonna get help to?
Gonna be the
The
next
lifeguards
thing that I
and-
was gonna say, that we would need to put an ad in the paper for lifeguards. I'd like to do that to see if that's even a possibility. We have not had an abundance of people applying for the park job at all. We've had a couple of people who are gonna send in applications. We've had 3 actual applications. So we may have a serious problem with not having anything open if we can't get employees to work. But I think we have had, calls about lifeguard positions, and they were told at that time that we would not be opening the pool. So there is a possibility, but that would be one of the things that I would wanna do, is put an ad in right away to see if we could even get any lifeguards. But the question is, the board has to decide if the pool is working and it's not gonna cost anything more than the chlorinator, and the heater is up in the air, cause we'd have to see the cost on that.
Yeah, we've never had the heater.
Yeah,
since
I
it's
mean, the
built.
heater's been broken for a long time. Barry has
They're
a,
impossible to get right now, pool supplies,
I'd buy it on the next truck.
yeah.
well, Barry has a idea to heat the water a little bit. That would cost $200, but we'll wait on that. But the question is, do we wanna go ahead and see, because we'd have to make a decision tonight.
I don't think you still don't have clear direction from the DOH. I think it would stand as our last motion as the pool's closed for the year. My opinion.
What did you say, Mike? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
We haven't had clear decision, or clear things from the DOH. I know Cuomo spoke today, I think it was today. But we don't have anything from them, and the board
Well-
decided, what, a month ago? 2 months ago, that we're gonna keep it closed for the year.
And work on repairs.
Get it right, get it repaired, and
Well, we're
start
get,
fresh next year.
I mean, Barry's done that much, and there are not any major repairs. We're just having a lot of people not happy about the pool not being open, so that's,
There's no harm in going forward with saying to do it if it's possible. So you look into all of the possibilities, you get your people hired, you've gotta get people hired no matter what, if you're going to have the park open. And if for the pool, you advertise and you go forward with having the possibility. And there's no harm in that whatsoever. If the DOH, everything changes almost from day to day with the DOH and with all the regulations. There's no, if you say for another month that you're not going to, that puts you into July where you already would have it open.
That's why the board made that decision 2 months ago, that they
It
weren't
was
going
all,
to
it was
flip-flop.
all, and
Yeah.
regulations have changed since then.
the DOH the woman did not feel like there was gonna be, that they would be a problem with opening the pool.
Seabreeze
Dams
is
are
open.
opening, and yeah, the water parks are all open, everything is opening. They are just waiting for something they can actually say.
Yeah, but aren't they all at limited capacities, and then who's gonna be the
No.
person responsible to
No.
say,
I don't think
No.
there's no limitations as of today.
No.
All that got lifted, I think.
Yep.
Almost said
well,
no more.
Yeah,
But
It's
you're
all
in
open.
middle of
Yeah.
June, by the time you hire somebody, hope to get it fixed. You're probably mid-July.
and then by the end of,
Thank
then
you.
by the end of July, this next, when the next board meeting is, and you don't have a chance to go forward that, and you've got a very short season, and people are looking for it. Lots of people look for it all the time.
Has the park committee interviewed any of the applicants for the gatekeeper?
People have come in with applications, we were waiting to get more. Right now,
But has the park committee interviewed?
no, they haven't, because there's nobody to interview, Nancy.
I thought you said you had.
Yeah,
three.
and they're not people that are going to be able to fill that position. They
Oh.
submitted applications.